At one time, he had everything: money, fame, and the limelight. On TV, he was the face of bespoke vehicles. Using roaring engines and raw steel, he established an empire. He made a life out of his passion for vintage culture, music, and cars that most people can only imagine. Suddenly, though, Danny Koker disappeared on the big screen without a farewell or an explanation. The majority were unaware that there were unexpectedly stunning headlines. He faced legal battles that nearly cost him everything, awful charges that threatened to permanently damage his character, and a quiet that left supporters uneasy. What actually became to Danny Koker? What was truly going on behind those garage doors was never revealed to the majority of people, who only saw what the cameras permitted. What he got in return will really surprise you, as he spent his entire life giving his all for others. The secret history of Danny Koker. He never attended college to pursue a degree in mechanics. He never took an engine course in school. Furthermore, he lacked a prestigious mentor to guide him and a fancy degree. Danny Koker acquired what he knows about autos from his own experience. Losing himself in the tangle of cables and metal, getting his hands dirty, disassembling things, and then somehow reassembling them better than before. With a wrench in his little hand and an ambitious desire in his heart, Danny Koker, the man who would eventually become the face of counting cars, began his career in his boyhood garage rather than in a fancy garage or a television studio. And that dream didn't start till he was 8 years old. Danny was in his family garage fixing his first motorcycle at a time when most children were riding their bikes around the block or playing computer games. That initial effort, however, was more than a pastime. A lifelong fascination would be sparked by that spark. This marked the start of a journey that would eventually lead him from that tiny garage to the dazzling lights of Las Vegas and, ultimately, into the homerooms of millions of fans worldwide. Yet, few fans are aware of Danny's other startling side before he started managing an empire of businesses or creating custom automobiles for celebrities. His obsession was not limited to automobiles. He was a performer as well. You see, Danny was raised in front of a TV. Because his family owned Channel 33 in Las Vegas, he had a unique opportunity to observe the entertainment business up close. Danny started learning the ins and outs of television production at a young age. He gained knowledge of production, sound, cameras, and presentation. This behind-the-scenes exposure would play a significant role in shaping who he was and would become. Thus, Count Cool Writer came into being. Yes, before he was counting cars, Danny Koker was holding a horror movie show in Las Vegas while dressed as a vampire. He introduced late-night scary films on Channel 33 under the alias Count Cool Writer. He channeled the magnetism of an old-school horror host while sporting a cape and full makeup. This, however, was no mere ploy. It was Danny as he was in his prime, combining his creative talent, charisma, and rock star life. And it combined his intense passion for machines in a special way. His understanding of how television operated and his exuberant nature, which made him ideal for something far more significant. The world eventually caught up to Danny's vision and passion in 2012. The History Channel debuted Counting Cars in that year. There was more to the display than restoring vintage cars. It focused on the relationships between Danny and his close-knit team, the passion that goes into each restoration, and the tales behind the vehicles. Above all, the goal was to preserve beauty in a society that frequently overlooks the value of fine craftsmanship. Car counting stood out from the first episode. And that's because Danny added something to the screen that was impossible to imitate. You could sense his enthusiasm in every episode, whether he was restoring a rusty classic from a junkyard or creating a unique ride for a rock star. The program swiftly rose to prominence as one of the most popular reality car shows on television during its run from 2012 to 2020. Not only were fans watching the vehicles, but they were also watching Danny because of his extravagant hair, enthusiasm, sunglasses, and unadulterated passion for his work. However, Danny was establishing an empire behind the scenes, so the program was just the start. The focal point of everything was his store, Count's Customs. Nestled in the heart of Las Vegas, the store became a popular destination for international travelers and auto enthusiasts. A museum of passion and a place where dreams were realized through chrome, paint, and sweat, it was more than just a typical company. Danny, however, didn't stop there. He brought together two of his greatest passions, cars and rock and roll, when he launched Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, a live music venue in Vegas. It became a popular spot, renowned for its live music and cocktails, as well as for being a small part of Danny Koker's universe. Additionally, because Danny never settles for less than perfection, he opened Count's Tattoo Company, which is housed inside the Rio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Danny Koker's companies have brought him a great deal of success. Some of the biggest names in music have had special motorcycles made for them. Individuals like Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Zombie, and Alice Cooper trusted him with their legacies in addition to their automobiles. Because of artists like that, an automobile is a statement rather than merely a means of transportation. No one was more aware of that than Danny Koker. It would be incorrect to assume that his talent ended in the garage. Danny's blood has always been music. He actually serves as the lead vocalist for the hard rock group Count 77. Additionally, he has given his music the same degree of sincerity and passion that he gave to his vehicles. His band has rocked every stage they played, recorded songs, and toured. If you ever question Danny's musical abilities, you should know that he was just 11 years old when he made his Carnegie Hall debut. Danny Koker has always been one of those exceptional individuals. However, life's obstacles can still affect even the most gifted, driven, and prosperous individuals. Danny has also seen his share of difficulties in recent years, particularly with his business. The legal tumult behind the driveway. For many years, Count's Customs was more than just a Las Vegas auto repair shop. It served as the focal point of Danny Koker's universe, where he created unique automobiles with talent, hard effort, and genuine devotion. Even the most powerful empires, though, have weaknesses, and occasionally those weaknesses are hidden until it is too late. The difficulty for Danny arrived in the form of paperwork, court proceedings, lawyers, and startling claims. It began with what initially appeared to be a standard grievance from Jeanette and Paul Hurt, a couple. Entered Count's Customs with an idea for their vehicle, and they thought Danny and his group would be the best people to make it a reality. They had witnessed the show and the brand's enchantment, after all. In order to pay the company $50,000 for the restoration, they left their 1967 Ford Mustang Coupe. The Hurts were assured that the restoration would be shown on the History Channel's Counting Cars, the complaint claims. However, they were then told that there would be no television coverage of the initiative. They also found out that their automobile had not been repaired when they visited the store, and the car they had bought was not even the model they had agreed upon. Not only that, but they said their car was returned in worse condition than when they left it. Additionally, they asserted that Count's Customs disregarded their money and failed to reimburse them even after they requested a refund. The company's reputation and possibly Danny's own heart were already harmed, even if the court case's verdict is still unknown to the public. Because being accused of failing to deliver is deeply hurtful to a man who built his entire life on his reputation and his passion. However, his legal issues did not finish there, as another storm soon followed. This time from within the confines of Count's Customs itself, through a man by the name of Joseph Frontiera. Joseph wasn't your average worker. He was entrusted with managing the back-end operations, such as the funds, documentation, and essential items that keep the shop functioning properly. Frontiera was meant to maintain the books while Danny concentrated on the cars, cameras, and customers. He was charged with embezzling more than $75,000 from the company instead of doing it. Legal papers and subsequent stories claim that Frontiera used corporate money to cover his own costs, including, shockingly, a down payment on a Range Rover and airline tickets for his own private travel. These were not blunders in accounting. They were discreet robberies and intentional acts carried out in secret. Unfortunately, Danny's business suffered greatly as a result of such activities. Count's Customs faced tax problems and late payment fines, claimed as a result of Joseph's alleged poor financial management of the business. It went beyond simply losing the money. It was the impact of ripples. No money was paid for the bills. Financial documents were disorganized. And Danny had to try to keep his shop open and his name intact while sorting out the mess. The treachery was an even greater pain. Motor Trend, an outside firm that broadcast counting vehicles and was once known as Velocity, had nominated Joseph Frontiera. That recommendation had been trusted by Danny, who thought the person they sent would be trustworthy, professional, and devoted to the Count's customs. After the embezzlement was discovered, however, Danny did more than simply fire Frontiera. He pursued those responsible for bringing him into the fold. The recruitment firm that recommended Frontiera was sued by Danny, who purportedly claimed that they had withheld important details concerning Joseph's background, including his track record of dubious behavior at previous employment. That is, Danny would never have allowed him to come near his company if he had known more. Unfortunately, Joseph Frontiera had already left Nevada by the time this was discovered, allegedly escaping to another state, which made the judicial proceedings even more difficult. The form of the charges and the location of his relocation made it difficult to prosecute criminal charges. And civil court was where much of the battle took place. This might have appeared to be just another business scandal to the outside world. However, Danny Koker took this personally. It was a deep cut. It is one thing when someone tampers with your finances, brand, and reputation. However, when they sabotage the dream you've been constructing since childhood and have dedicated your entire life to, it's a completely different matter. The scandal had a complex aftermath. Legal expenditures were incurred, and extensive damage control was required. In spite of everything, he continued. But for Danny, the problems didn't stop here. He has actually had to contend with some startling and contentious allegations that have damaged his reputation. The accusations and rumors of the arrest. It's difficult to envision controversy following someone like Danny Koker, who made his career refurbishing ancient motorcycles into rolling marvels and turning rust into gold. But it's funny how rumors are drawn to those who are famous. Even Danny, who is a strong individual, has been unable to avoid the less glamorous aspects of the spotlight. His arrest for possession of a restricted narcotic is one of the most persistent tales that have followed him over the years. Without any solid proof, it started out as a murmur on the internet but quickly gained traction before becoming a full-fledged controversy. In actuality, though, there is no official record that ever substantiates Danny's arrest for drug possession or any similar offense. Because the claims being made online are unsupported by any legal evidence. It also doesn't help that, despite being a TV star, Danny is a very private person. He doesn't post details of his life on the internet or appear in interviews to explain himself if anything strange occurs. The rumors have been further stoked by that silence. It's frustrating because it's so not me, he said in a sit-down interview. I'm a conservative Christian guy and I'm all about God, family, our country, my team, and my people. However, his legacy has been tainted by other controversy as well. For years, Counting Cars, his most well-known creation, has been plagued by another mystery, and some have started to doubt the show's legitimacy. The question eventually comes up with practically every reality TV show. And to be fair, more viewers start to see the weaknesses in a show as it goes on. Fans began pointing out that several scenes were overly polished and well-rehearsed. Deals that closed in a matter of minutes, for instance, or clients who arrived with a hazy concept and left with a flawless custom construct, all without any disputes, delays, or real-world difficulties. The accusations then really started to come in. According to several internet comments, some of the car builds were staged. Or that some patrons were actors who were brought in to provide some flair. Others said Danny's responses to several initiatives were a bit too flawless, as if he had anticipated them. One Reddit thread even attempted to demonstrate that one of the automobiles was never really worked on at the shop by breaking down a particular episode frame by frame. The show's production firm has never addressed these charges explicitly. Additionally, neither Danny nor his staff have formally acknowledged nor refuted the authenticity of any of the show's content. But perhaps that's just a part of the strategy to keep viewers guessing. However, some lifelong followers felt a little uneasy due to the lack of clarity. However, there were further rumors regarding Danny Koker. They've really become bigger as the years have gone by and the spotlight has gotten brighter. And he has encountered some that are directed at his family and personal life, which he works to keep out of the spotlight. Danny Koker's personal life is rumored. Danny Koker made it his career to restore historic motorcycles and cars to their original splendor. Despite his success in business and his strength on film, he hasn't always had an easy time navigating his personal life. Outside of the cameras and engines, Danny has seen heartbreak, terror, and vicious rumors. That would tremble the most resilient person. An online rumor that Danny Koker had passed away was among the most horrifying and tragic rumors ever to surface. It all began when an obituary link was shared. Fans quickly expressed their sorrow on social media, startled and saddened that the man who counted automobiles was allegedly no longer there. However, his father had passed away, not Danny. Years before, Danny Koker Sr., a highly regarded gospel composer and guitarist, had died. He had greatly influenced Danny's passion for music, and the two became close. However, it was misconstrued when the obituary started to circulate again, out of context. As a result of Danny's significant retreat from public appearances around the same period. Because there were no fresh car counting episodes showing, fans were left wondering where he was. The resurfaced obituary and the absence caused the confusion. False information also spreads quickly in today's environment, when social media frequently exchanges facts for quick clicks. And it must have been really painful for Danny and his family. He and his family, however, had other personal challenges. At about the same time, his wife, Koker, was in a serious vehicle accident. As with all aspects of their marriage, the specifics were kept largely secret. However, her absence from events and updates started to be noticed by admirers who had kept a close eye on her during her time at Counts Vamped. The most startling development, however, was the emergence of bogus web stories that claimed Corey had perished in the collision. Some even made a bogus connection between her and someone else who had a similar name, and the mismatch became a widely circulated rumor. They were grieving. Some even expressed their sympathy to Danny. Chaos reigned. And stillness exacerbated it for a while. Stepped forward at last to correct the record. It took a while to rectify the story, but she was alive and had survived. It seems sense that she took her time to speak up because she needed time to heal both mentally and physically. However, the harm had already been caused. Because of the fabricated death reports about Danny, the accident rumors about Corey, and their conspicuous lack of public attention, fans began to fear that something was seriously amiss behind the scenes. They weren't totally mistaken, though, as Danny Koker is still a human being behind the spotlight, and no amount of success can shield you from personal suffering. Even though he doesn't often divulge personal information, it's obvious that Danny has been dealing with strain and loss for a while. It was a turning point for him to lose his father, who had influenced his early artistic impulses. Add to that the never-ending rigors of managing multiple companies, maintaining a popular television program, coping with legal issues and betrayals, and the ongoing need to look flawless for the cameras. In addition, fans have been subtly speculating about his health for years. Even if a diagnosis has not been made, Danny's prolonged absences from the public eye and the obvious impact on his appearance have only sparked additional inquiries. However, Danny has never really talked about his difficulties. He works, retreats, and relies on his music instead. Most importantly, he remains faithful to his inner circle and those who supported him when the cameras stopped filming. Even though Danny is a tough guy, the years have taken their toll. And fans who have been too scared to voice the question aloud are starting to do so. Is Danny Koker doing okay? Danny's disappearance, health issues, and speculations. Once, you couldn't turn on your television without seeing black shades, Danny Koker's trademark bandana, and an intense love for vintage machinery. But then he began to disappear off the screen, almost silently. And nobody quite understood why. However, it did not occur simultaneously. The first thing that fans noticed was subtle. Danny didn't appear to be losing weight in the healthful way that comes with starting a new exercise or diet regimen. This time, it was different. He appeared more drawn, his body was notably thinner, and people started inquiring about his health. Some fans were afraid. The theories started to circulate immediately after that. The rumor that Danny had cancer was possibly the most startling. Rumors were spread by whispers, concerned remarks, and side-by-side pictures that revealed the drastic change in his appearance. Insider reports, however, have shown that his extreme weight loss is a result of stress brought on by his hard job, which frequently requires him to work up to 18 hours a day. Counts Customs is a difficult empire to run. Danny's life was constantly hectic with his band's touring shows, his Vegas enterprises, his celebrity clients, the TV production schedule, and the bespoke builds. Furthermore, stress does more than only sap your vitality if it is not managed. Your body begins to be affected by it. Additionally, some insiders have pointed out that the weight loss might have been caused by stress-related illnesses, which could have been made worse by the physical strain of leading such a busy lifestyle over time. Danny has not responded to the allegations, but the rumors persisted. Nor did the queries concerning why it appeared that counting cars disappeared from the screens. In 2020, the popular program that made Danny famous ceased to produce new episodes. Initially, people thought it was merely a pause. After all, reality television frequently takes a break in between seasons. However, speculation regarding Danny's retirement became a worry as the months stretched into years without an official update. Some admirers thought he left on his own volition, seeking tranquility after decades of demanding work. Others said he had no say in the matter and that the network had ceased counting cars because of dwindling viewership or creative disagreements. Danny has never provided an explanation, though. No last farewell or farewell interview was held. He simply vanished off the screen, allowing viewers to speculate about what actually transpired. It's not only about his TV persona, he has also been making fewer and fewer public appearances. He has been seen by some at Count's Customs and his other business, but others claim he appears worn out and more reserved, as if he had experienced a significant event but didn't want to discuss it. It's possible that Danny Koker has always been like that. As other celebrities scramble to share every move they make on the internet, Danny has always kept the real things private. His absence has not gone ignored, though. And for admirers who grew up watching him revitalize dead engines, it has been heartbreaking to watch Danny vanish silently. What happened to Danny Koker after the car counting concluded, and what has he been up to, is the major mystery that remains unresolved. Today, where is Danny Koker? In light of all the success, rumors, disappearances, and personal turmoil, where is Danny Koker now? Actually, Danny Koker never truly disappeared, despite the fact that he is no longer on television. He simply moved far away from the limelight. And although his lack of response has left admirers perplexed, his job has discreetly gone on in the background. Above all, Count's Customs, the foundation of his commercial empire, remains intact. In spite of all the legal issues, staff scandals, and other events that have occurred over the years, the store is still open in Las Vegas. People are still building custom automobiles. Tours are still available. Still, tourists visit daily in the hopes of seeing some of the amazing cars made famous by the program or catching a glimpse of Danny. However, Count's traditions are just one aspect of the whole picture. Count's universe also includes his vamped rock bar and grill, which combines his love of music with his background in Vegas. Concerts, late-night activities, and performances by local and touring performers are still held at the pub. Additionally, Danny himself occasionally enters the stage when the time is appropriate. That's because, despite the end of the filming, his musical career continued. Danny Koker's soul has always been rock and roll. He performed for a long time before becoming a reality TV celebrity. Count 77, a hard rock band that evokes the spirit of the 1970s with unadulterated, genuine intensity, still features him as its lead vocalist. They are said to still record and perform. Additionally, they continue to fill the house with fans who remember Danny as more than just a mechanic when they perform live. In many ways, he seems to find that music helps him stay focused. It's the one area of his life where he's always been in charge, in a world full of changing headlines and public scrutiny. What about television, though? Is there a possibility that Danny may make a comeback? No new series starring Danny has been confirmed as of yet, and there is also no official word on the Accounting Cars remake. The History Channel has been silent about the future of the show that made him famous, and it hasn't aired new episodes since 2020. No fresh developments have emerged in spite of several fan petitions, social media campaigns, and internet debates. However, there is still hope. Since there is still so much that Danny could share, many fans think that he is not finished with television and hope that he will return when the time is right. He has a wealth of information, a lifetime of anecdotes, and an untold legacy of car culture. However, Danny Koker is happy to be doing things his own way, away from the spotlight and the commotion, and concentrating on the things that are most important to him, such as his music, his businesses, and the people in his inner circle. He is still regarded as a living legend in the custom automobile community, even if he is no longer the face of popular car restoration. Danny Koker might have taken a step back at age 61. However, he has not ceased. He is still creating and living according to his own rules. And the best legacy somebody can leave is that one. But what are your thoughts? Would you be interested in a television comeback with Danny Koker? Tell us by leaving a comment below. If you like this video, please remember to like it, subscribe to our channel for future updates, and click on the next video that appears on your screen.